Go to Training Control panel. And as we go along through the portal, you can ask questions that way. All right. Let me open up one other file real quick here that I want to show you. Just a second. So there's another diagram that we want to look at. Apologize, I usually have this up beforehand. Here we go. So what you're seeing on the screen here, this is a time and attendance diagram. And the one thing that I wanted to point out on here is that normally with time and attendance, the way that the employee gets time recorded into the TAA database is they go out to a vehicle and they clock in or out on a tablet or an operator panel or something like that. The portal over here, this represents the portal. The employee goes out to a web address, and that web address is taa.portal.synovia.com, and they can clock in or out of the portal and record time in the database through here. Now, the portal actually has, when we refer to the portal, it's also referred to as the kiosk. But the portal itself, it has two sides. It has one side where the employee can clock in or out, and it has another side where the employee actually can go in and, depending on what's enabled, they can view the time that they've charged for the current work week. They can request time off. There's a lot of different things they can do. And we're going to go over all that functionality in regards to the portal today. Now back here on our in our outline, the first thing we're going to talk about is the clock in and out tab on the portal. So I'm going to go pull up a window here, and the web address we're going to go to is just TAA it's portal.synovia.com. I think I told you wrong earlier. So it's portal.synovia.com. And right here, you'll see two different sides. We have the clock in tab, and that's where it defaults to. And then we have the portal tab. So right now we're going to cover the clock in tab. So this is how I can clock in or out of the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my login ID here. And I've got a test ID, it's 9999. And then I'm going to put in my account code. Let me go retrieve that real quick here. Here we go. So the account code I'm going to paste in here. Now when you go to clock in to the portal, there's two choices here. There's a default job code, and then there's one where you can choose your job code. I'm going to click on choose your job code, and we're going to click scan here. And these are the two job types that I'm allowed to charge to on the portal itself. So I'm going to pick office work here, and we're going to click on that. And it tells me that Sam Synovia is punched in. He punched in at 11:05. So I have punched in or clocked in through the portal. Now if I go over to time and attendance and I go to look at the time card, and the employee is Sam Synovia right here. So what we see here, we're looking at this Thursday the 13th right here, and we have an incomplete shift, which means I'm currently clocked in, and right here is my shift. It says office work, which is the job type that I chose, and it tells me that I punched in at 11:05:07. It was rounded to 11:05. And the slash lines mean that I'm currently logged in, and that also means it's an incomplete shift. So that's what it looks like in time and attendance. It doesn't look anything different than if the driver had gone out and clocked in or out through the tablet or an operator panel. So now let's go back to portal.synovia.com on the clock in side, and we're going to put in my 9999 again, and I'm just going to click scan, and it punched me out. So Sam Synovia is now punched out of the portal. And if I go back to my time and attendance window again, and I refresh this, we see that my shift down here, he punched in at 11:05, punched out at 11:07. So that punched me out of the portal. And just to make it easier, I'm going to right click and delete that shift so that we don't get confused on what we're doing. All right, so that is the portal side with the clock in. Now, what I did was I did the choose job type. Now let's do it with the default job type. So I put in 9999, my account code, and I'm going to leave it on default job type, and I'm going to click scan. And it scans me in, and it chooses office work. So it went ahead and it logged me in that way. Now, the reason why it clocked me in and it had a default job code is that over in time and attendance, there's a place where we can actually specify the job code that's being used. So right now, let's go back to time and attendance, and let me refresh my time card, and you'll see that I'm currently clocked in again. So there's my shift that's currently open. So the way that it knew that I had a default job type. So on the portal MDT settings right here, this is what the screen looks like. We're looking at the bottom section down here. So here's my employee types. So we've got the driver and we've got the monitor employee type. And this box here has to be checked for me to be able to access the portal. So that's checked for both of those employee types. And then right here we have allowed portal types. And Sam Synovia is a driver. If we click this drop down, we see that office work and meeting are both valid to use on the portal for logging in. This column right here, MDT stands for Mobile Data Terminal. In other words, the tablet or the operator panel. And if we click the drop down here, it tells me that on the tablet, regular route and field trip are going to be allowed on there, but office work and meeting are not. So that means that if you were to go out to the bus with the tablet, it would not show office work and meeting. It would only show the regular route and field trip. And then right over here is our default portal job code. And we have office work as the default portal type job code. And we could pick any of these from there. So that's where it pulls that default from. Let me lower this. And we're still clocked in to the portal. So we're going to go ahead and clock out again. And we'll click scan. And now I'm punched out of the portal. So just to minimize confusion, I'm going to go back here and click on View Time Card. And I'm going to right click and delete that shift so it's not confusing. Okay, so that's gone now. All right, so what we've covered so far in here, we've covered the clock in tab of the portal. we've talked about if you have a default job type. We've talked about if you choose the job type. And then, oh, let me mention this other option here called the no default option. If you look down here at the bottom of our outline, we have these portal links, and this is the one we just used, portal.synovia.com. Well, if you don't want the employee to have a default option at all, then down here, notice I've got a link here that says hide default job. And that just means that he'll have to choose a job type. And so this link down here looks a little bit different. It's got this extra verbiage off to the right. So I'm going to click on that link, and we're going to allow it. And notice that on this link, we don't have an option for a default job type. So watch what happens when I use this. I put in 9999, and I'm going to click scan, and it automatically makes me choose. So I can choose office work, and I'm punched in. And then if I go to punch out 9999 and I scan it, it says you are currently clocked in, and I have to use this clock out button right here. So I'm going to click clock out, so I'm punched out. So that's how the process will work if you use this other link, which hides the default option. And if you'll notice up here, this link, it says default job equals in, as in no. So that's where it's hiding it. And if I go up here and I change this into a yes, let me just show you here. If I change that to a yes and I hit the enter button, then it displays it. So it's just allowing it to display or not display. Okay. All right. So the next piece, let's go back to our outline here. So we've covered the clocking in tab. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the portal tab on that link. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our original portal.synovia.com, and we're going to click on the portal tab, and we're going to put in our login ID 9999. And actually, you know what? I don't think I reset my password. Bear with me one moment here. I apologize, but I'm going to go back to this MDT and I'm going to reset something. Then I'll explain here in a little bit what I did. So just give me a second here. Oops. Okay. So we're going to go to the portal tab and we're going to put in our login ID of 9999. And my password, the first time that I log in, is going to be the same, 9999. And then same account number, and I'm going to click login. So you'll notice that instead of clock in, it's a login button. And it tells me either you're a new user or your account has been reset by the administrator. So I have to change my password. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put in my current password of 9999, and then I want to put in a new password. I'll just use Synovia. And then down here, I have to choose my mother's maiden name. I'm going to pick Synovia for that. And I'm going to click Save. So now I'm logged in to the portal side. And you'll notice that I don't have many options on here. I have a My Account option. And if I go there, it shows me that I can change my password or my mother's maiden name. I do have a clock in and out, so I can punch in from this side as well. And if I click on clock in and out, it shows me, it looks a little bit different, but it says you are currently clocked out, and then I can choose a job type from this drop down, and I can clock in. So I can clock in from this side as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to enable some different functions on the portal tab so that we can go in and do certain things. So I'm going to log off of here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to time and attendance. Just one second here. We're going to go back to time and attendance, and we're going to go back to the portal MDT screen. So now we're going to talk about this section up here. On our outline, we've talked about the portal tab. We did a password change, clocked in and out, and we talked about the My Account. So now what we're looking at are these different portal MDT settings. So the first one of these is enable review of past work. And we're not going in order on here. So that's this one right here. Enable review of past work. Actually, we're going to do display current work first. Let's do that one. And we're going to save that option. So now that's saved. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the portal. So we're going to go to portal. Oops, let me reopen this back up. We're going to go back to portal. So we're going to portal.synovia.com. And remember, the default is the clock in tab, so we have to click on the portal tab. And we're going to put in our 9999 with my new password. And we're going to log in. And now, in addition to the clock in and out and the My Account, I have this review current work. And if I click on it, it shows me the time card for Sam Synovia for the current work week. And down here, I have a little PDF. And if I click on that, it's processing, and what it's doing, it's going to give me a standard time card. So I'm going to click to download it. And we'll open this up. And here is my standard time card report. So it's got all my punches for the current week. And down here is a summary, and it shows for regular route I had this many hours, field trip, and then office work. So it shows me all my time. And it's not just the time through my portal logins, it's showing me all my time where I clocked in through a bus and so forth. All right. So that was the option. I'm going to log off of here now. That was the option to review my time for the current work week. Now what we're going to do is we're going to enable the review of past work right here. So we're going to go back to TAA, and we're going to check this enable review of past work. We'll check that box and save it. And now we're going to go back, and we're going to go to the portal tab again, and we're going to log in again. Oops. By the way, I just want to check in with everybody. Is everybody following along? Could you give me a raise your hand button if you're following along with what I'm doing? Okay, thank you. All right, just want to check. Again, if you have questions, please use the chat window. So we're going to put in my password, and we're going to log in. And now I've got this other option, review past work. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to default to the current work week. It shows me all my time that I have for the current work week. But I also have this button on here for this review past work. I can click the arrow and I can go to the week before. I don't think I have any time. Or I can click on the little calendar icon here and I can pick the week that I want to go to. So if I pick this week right here, which is the 9th, it takes me back to here. So Review Past Work just allows you to review the current week and the prior weeks. So really, if you're enabling this functionality, you can just enable Review Past Work and it'll allow them to review the current and the past. So you really don't need both of those. It just depends if you want somebody to be able to see the past week. All right, we're going to log off of here. And we're going to go back to time and attendance. Actually, let's go to our outline real quick. So we did a review of past work and current work. And now we're going to talk about this function here, enable time off request. Now, to do this, I'm going to actually open up a different account for this. So the enable, let me finish talking here first. So the enable time off request is this top option right here. And what this does, it allows a driver or somebody that's clocking in to the portal to request days off, like for vacation or something like that. So we check that box and then we save it down here. Now, in order for the enable time off requests to work properly, we have to set kind of the chain of command on where my time off request is going to be sent to. So right up here, I have a tab and it's an absent request settings. So I have to set up a rule that says who's going to approve this information on the time card. So I'm going to go over here and we're just going to call this rule, we're going to call this absence. And I have to select my department and we're going to select Troup County Schools. And then we can say we need 1 approver, 2 approvers, 3 approvers, and so on. Let's say we wanted 2. And then down here, we go to select our approvers. I could select Synovia support right here, and let's just select one of these other users. And we're going to hit create. I have to go back and select my department. Now we'll hit create. So it tells me I have an absent rule. My department is Troup County. I have 2 approvers. I don't know why it doesn't show the approvers here, but that's probably a bug. But if I go over here and I click the drop down, it shows me who the 2 approvers are. So now what we need to do, we would need to set the who gets that approval first. And that's right here in this column, or this tab, where it says approval request ranks. So if I click on this, it has all of my approvers, and I would have to go in here and click edit over here, and I would pick if this person is going to be the first approver, the second approver, and so on. I'm not going to modify this because I don't have a way to remove them if I do make that. But this is the absent request rank that gets set up here. So what'll happen here then, since I have enabled the time off request on the portal, if I go back to the portal now and I click on the portal tab and I log in again, now what we have here, we have a function labeled request time off right here. And if I click on this, now I'm going to go to my other account, probably because I won't be able to actually process this here. But I have to, in order for this to function properly, I have to have absent types set up in time and attendance because I don't have any absent types to choose from here. So let me talk about where that is while we're doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and log off of here. Over in time and attendance, if you go down here to the admin area, right down here is an option for absent types. And this customer doesn't have any set up. So let's just go ahead and set one up. So we're going to hit the plus sign. And we're going to call this absence. We'll call this, let's call it vacation day, I guess. And the absent code has to correspond to what payroll recognizes. We're just going to put V-Day here. And then let's assume this is a paid vacation day, and we're going to click Insert. So now we have that absent type set up. So if I go back to the portal now, and I go to the portal tab, I can log in again. And now if I go to request time off, it shows my absent types to choose from is vacation day. So what I would do in here, before I finish this, I'm going to do one more thing. Is I want to go back to the portal MDT settings, and I'm going to get rid of this absent rule simply because I don't want this email to go to anybody. We're just doing a demo, so let me delete that. So I got rid of my absent rule. And now over here for requesting the absence, what I would do is I would put the time frame of my absence. So I could put, if I'm going to be absent half a day, a full day, hourly, midday. Let's just pick hourly here. And let's say we were going to be absent tomorrow on the 14th. So we'll put that. And then we'll say we're going to be absent from 8 a.m. until 11 a.m. So those 3 hours. And for a note here, we're just going to say vacation with family or something. And then we're going to go down here, we're going to click Submit Request. And it tells me no one has currently has access to approve, so it's not going to let me do that. And that's fine, because what it would do is it would just show up down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the other account. Let me log off of here, and we're going to go over to the other account that I have. And this customer here is using the absent functionality. So if I log on to the portal with this account, let's go do that. Hopefully I still, give me a second here. I got to grab that account code. So that one, okay. You know what? I won't be able to show that piece of it, so let's just do this. Let's go to I'm trying to think how I can show you this. So if we go in here and we go to absent requests, so this is what it looks like. So I'm logged into time and attendance. Let's assume that I am the approver. What'll happen is on this action item tab, when I set something up and I'm the approver, when I go in here and look at my action items, it'll show me that I have a request, and I can go look at it and I can approve it. And then after I approve it, it shows me, it goes over to the historical items, and this shows me that there was one submitted by Sam Sinovia for sick leave March, and it was a full day, and it was approved. And if I hit the little sideways caret here, it shows me that information down here as well. So that's what it looks like when that's done. And the approver, if they were approving this, they could put they can put a response to the employee when they approve that. And I apologize that I couldn't show you that the process as it plays out, but I don't want to create any absences for any account and kind of mess anybody up. Now, if we go back to my other time and attendance, when we go to look at Portal MDT, there is a couple options, extra options that you can have in here. Right here, it says time off advance notice required. So if I check this box and I go over here and I put in, let's say, 3 days, that means that when the driver, whoever is requesting the time off, they have to do that at least 3 days in advance. And if they don't, there'll be an error saying that the request was not granted because it wasn't made in time. So you have to do it at least 3 days in advance. And in this box, if I check it, this means that the supervisor is going to get an email notification when that request was made. So, I log into the portal, I request time off, I submit it, my supervisor is going to get an email notification, and then he logs into time and attendance, and he'll have an absent request to approve. And then this one right here, limit time off request. What this is, if I check on this means that if I put a 2 in here, that means that the maximum number of days that it will allow me to request off is 2. So that's what that means. So if I try to request more days off than 2, it'll give me an error message saying that I can't do that functionality. Okay. Now, by the way, let me go back to that other account real quick. So you'll notice that we have an absent request option right here. So this absent request that's on the Portal MDT just has an FYI. If we go down to admin and we go to users, and we cover this in the TAA webinar, the regular webinar, but I want to kind of talk about this a little bit. We have these privilege groups that you may be familiar with. So if I go to the all privilege group, so the functionality that allows me to have this absent request right here, I believe it is, let me find it here. It's this function right here. So whoever is going to be approving absences, they have to be assigned a privilege group that has this function right here, portal/absent requests, so that they'll be able to go in and approve or unapprove absences. Now, if they have this functionality, it's okay if they're never going to approve absences. They'll just have this absent option, this choice here on the menu. But unless they're on the approval rank and they're set up in that approver list, they're not going to ever get any approvals to do. So, but that's how you enable that functionality. Okay. Let's go back to our outline here briefly. So we've talked about review of work. We talked about enabling time off requests. We discussed the absent request setting tab and the absent request rank tab. And then we talked about the time off advanced notification and the time off supervisor email and the limit time off request. Now let's go back to our time and attendance window, and we're going to talk about this request auto transfer when clocked in from the kiosk. So we're going to go over here, and the other functionality in here, there's a function down here called, and by the way, let me mention this. This box right here, requests employee certification of work. That functionality doesn't really do anything. I think it was a leftover when they were setting up time and attendance, and neither does request supervisor release of timesheet before the employee can review. Those two boxes don't really do anything if you were to mark them. Now there's require auto transfer when clocking in from the kiosk. What this is, let's say that you are clocked in through the portal. So you've went to the clock in tab and you've clocked into office work or meetings. And now you're going to go log in, you're going to go clock in on a bus to do your regular route. Now, if you were to log out of the portal and then go get your bus keys, walk out to the bus, that process might take 15-20 minutes, and that time would not be reflected on the time card. So the way we get to account for that time on the time card, what we want to do is we want to check this box for require auto transfer when clocking in from the kiosk. If this is checked, what will happen is the employee or the driver that is clocked in on the portal, when they go out to their if they remain logged in on the portal, when they walk out to their bus and they clock in on the tablet on the bus, it will automatically close out that portal shift that they had. So the way that would kind of look on paper is, let's say they punched in the portal at 10 a.m. and then they get out to the bus at 11 and they clock in on the tablet just like normal, and they choose job type of like regular route, let's say. The way that would be reflected on the time card, it would have the portal punch in time of 10 a.m. and then at the time that they punched in on the tablet was 11 o'clock. That's the time that the portal shift of office work would end, and that's the same time that the shift on the tablet would begin. So this require auto transfer, it just automatically keeps you on the clock and then closes out that shift when you log in on the tablet. It's a great thing to have when you do that. Now the reverse of this is, let me think about this for a second. Now the reverse of that is not really true. If you're clocked in on the tablet, you want to, and then you're going to do office work, you are going to want to log off of that that tablet on the bus. So you are going to want to do that. But that's how that process will work, that require auto transfer. I hope that makes sense. All right, let me go back to my outline here. So we did require auto transfer from the kiosk. We talked a little bit about the default job type already. So I don't really need to cover that. I kind of covered that up here. And we covered how the default job type, oh, I know what I want to show you. Let's go back here. So right here, this default job type. So you notice down here, we've got a default portal job, and you can pick it from the list. Well, initially, when you're set up in the system, this is automatically set to customer default job. And whatever is indicated right here as the default job, like if we put office work here, that means that if this is set to customer default job, and this is office work, that's what they'll automatically be logged in at. Usually we choose it down here, but if you haven't chosen it down here, this has the same effect up here. Okay, so that's how that would work. All right, let's go back to our outline. Okay, so we did default job. Now we're going to talk about IP filtering tab. So I don't know if you noticed, right up here is a tab called IP filtering. And if you know anything about IP addresses, there's a range. This gives us a range of IP addresses. So what this is saying, that from the starting point of 0 out to this IP address, someone can clock in on the portal, and they can also review their employee info. So this is an IP address range that's totally open. So what that means is that I can punch in or clock in if I'm at the school or on a bus, and I could also clock in from home. And that's not something you necessarily want people to do. So what you would do in this case is you would need to find out the IP address range of the school, and you would want to allow the punch in or just during that range. Or what you could do is you could go in here, you could say, this is a wide open IP address range. I'm not going to allow the clock in from that range, so I'm going to edit, and I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to update. Now when I have it set up like this, it means that no one can clock in. They can only review their employee info. So what happens in this case, if I go back to the portal and I go to the clock in tab and I try to clock in. So I'll put in my 9999 and I got to go back to my other account. So bear with me here. So if we put in that account number and we scan, clock in functionality not available from your IP address. So it won't let me do that. But if I go to the portal and I try to log in, it lets me log in. But if I go to clock in and out, it tells me again, clock in functionality is not available from your IP address. So, so that function, if I uncheck that, it doesn't allow a clock in from anywhere, even at the school. So if you still want them to be able to punch in on the portal and not just review their employee info, what you would want to do is you would want to talk to your IT department, and you would want to get the valid IP address range that you want in the school where you want to allow the clock in. Now I do have a customer that's doing it this way, so I'm going to pull up this other customer. So give me 1 second here, and I'll show you what this would look like. So we're going to log out, and we're going to log in to this other customer. Oops, let me move the window up here. All right, so for this customer, if I go to their Portal MDT, and I go to the Portal MDT settings, and I go to IP filtering, so here we see some different IP address ranges. So this range here, 168.935 out to this one, that's a valid IP address range that they're going to allow a clock in and review the employee info. And then so is this range right here. But these other ranges down here, they aren't valid ranges where they're going to allow a clock in. So they're allowing a review of employee info from anywhere, but they're only allowing a clock in to the valid IP address ranges that are within the school. So that's something you'd have to, talk with your IT department to get that information to make sure you have the valid ranges. Okay. Let's go back to our screen here. So we talked about the IP filtering tab, and now we're going to talk about how to reset an employee's portal password. So let's go back to this account, and we're going to go to Portal MDT Settings. So right in this area, this allows us to reset an employee's portal password. So the way this works is if I come in here, I can either select an employee from the list, or I can select their employee ID. So if I select Sam Sinovia, it automatically selects their employee ID as well. And down here where it says password source, the default is that it's going to reset my password to my employee ID. Now, I could click new value and I could type in a value in here and it would reset it to that new value. But either way, when I reset the password, it's going to require me to set a new password up. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to click reset password for Sam, and then we're going to go back to the portal, and we're going to click on the portal tab here, and I'm going to make sure I pull up the right information again. Bear with me here. I'm going to grab that other ID. So we're going to go in here. Hang on one second. So we're going to go to portal, and we're going to put in my login ID of 9999. And if I try to put in what my password used to be, it says your user ID password does not match. So let's try it again, 9999. And this time I'm going to put in 9999 and log in. And it immediately takes me to the screen where I have to change my password. Okay. And I'll go ahead and do that. And we'll put in my maiden name here. And we'll save it. And now I'm logged into the portal. So we'll go ahead and log off there. All right, so that's how you reset a portal password. Now you can also, by the way, if you want to reset the password for all employees, you would just click this button and it would reset them all to the employee ID. Okay. All right, which employees types have portal MDT access? We kind of already talked about that. That's this section right here where we talk about which employee types have portal access, which employee types are shown on the tablet, and then which job types are valid on the portal, which are valid on the MDT, and then the default portal type. All right, now down here, the portal links. I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. The standard link is this right here. That's just portal.synovia.com. If you click on the standard link, it takes you to the screen and you've got the default job type and you've got the choose job type options. The second one is where you hide the default job option. So if I click on this, it just allows me to log in and I scan and it's going to make me pick my job type. The next one is where we hide the portal tab. So on this one, if we don't want anybody having the option to review their employee information at all, I'm going to click on this one, and it hides that portal tab completely. You know, if you decided you didn't want them looking at their time card or anything else, and you strictly want it to be a clock in feature, you would do it that way. And then the last option here on this screen, this one allows us to it hides the portal tab and the default job. So I'm going to have to highlight, copy this and paste it, I guess. I don't know why it's not letting me click on this one. So let me copy that link. So again, this is going to hide the portal tab and the default job. So if we go back to our window and, oops, let's go back to your other one. And we paste this in here. So now we don't have the portal, and we just have the clock in. I think that's the same thing actually. Hide portal tab. Let me go back and click on this one again. Yeah, I think what I wanted to show here, this one hides the portal tab and the default job. This one just hides the portal tab, I guess. Okay, yeah. So I click on that one. So it hides, okay, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't want to cause any confusion. And by the way, you of course would only want to give your users, you want to give them the proper link, and you would want to only give them the ones that you want them to have. But you can go up here on this link and you can see what it's doing. On this one it says default job equals no, and that means that there is no default job, and hide portal equals yes. So we're hiding the portal, and the default job is no, so we're not allowing default jobs. Now if I go in here and for the hide the portal, and I say no, and I hit my enter button, then it brings that portal tab back. If I go here and I change default job to yes, and I hit the enter button, it gives me my default job. So you can see how that functionality works. We just thought it would be easier to include this information down here for you. Okay. All right. I think that's pretty much all we had for the portal. So just as a review, the portal is mainly used by either non-driving employees or to log driving time for an employee. So, the driver has office work to do or something that's not a function on the tablet, they can go into the portal and do that functionality. Does anybody have any other questions they would like to ask? If not, you feel free to drop off. If you do have any follow-up questions, you could always email us at training@synoviasolutions.com, and we'll get your questions answered. Just as a plug, there are, we've got, I think, 4 different time and attendance webinars. There's this one, which is the portal. There is also the regular TAA webinar. We have a TAA reports webinar, and then we have an advanced TAA webinar where we cover like rounding rules and shift analyzer. So, you can feel free to attend any of those, and we will love to have you and get you indoctrinated. If you haven't done anything with the portal and you have a project manager or a trainer that you're assigned to, they'll be happy to help you with that and get you taken care of. But thanks again for joining. Have a great day and a great weekend.